My boyfriend is broke, and I'm afraid that it makes us incompatible. How do I bring this up with him? My boyfriend and I have been together for 6 months. He's perfect, intelligent, funny, and he adores me more than anything. I love his family as my own, which is making this even more difficult to consider, but the fact that he's broke is just such a major turn off, and I have no clue how to bring it up. Considering my background and generation, I'm fully aware that I'm lucky to have the opportunity to have the amount of money that I have saved. It's not a lot, but it's considerably more than anyone I know my age who is in a similar position. I am very ambitious and career-oriented, and financial security, i.e. security in general, is a massive priority of mine, probably more than anything else. He has an alright career set up for him, inheriting a family business, but he's not particularly invested in it, really just taking it because it's what's being offered, and has zero ambition to pursue anything else. It's not a high-paying or really stable long-term job, either. It's what he does now, and he lives paycheck to paycheck, despite living with family and not having to pay any rent or utilities. I know that we're young and that things will change. I just feel very uneasy about the fact that my partner isn't as financially responsible as I am, and it doesn't instill any confidence in me that he has no real want to change that, even though I know he's insecure about it and has admitted how bad he is with money. I also know firsthand that he has a history of alcoholism and chain smoking. He has quit both for me, and I'm so afraid that this financial thing is going to end up being a deal breaker and that he'll fall right back into his addictions if I ever left. He makes it very clear that I'm his entire world and he doesn't know what he would do without me. Am I wrong to feel like that's a lot of weight on my shoulders? I don't want to be responsible for someone who can't be secure by themselves, and this is something that I'm very wary of. I want to fix things when it comes to that, but I know that I can't. Edit. I want to make it clear that this is not the only reason I stay with him. He is wonderful, kind, and extremely caring. This is just something that's in the back of my mind for if it ever came to it. I need to be pointed in some direction, any direction. Any insight is appreciated. Comment. You say he's perfect, but if you're so uncomfortable with his financial situation, then he's not perfect for you. Tell him you're not compatible, explain why, and let him go. I understand the concern about his addictions, but only he can truly prevent himself from reverting back to bad habits. You can't control his mind and do that for him. The sooner you break up with him, the better. That way, he can find someone who'll accept him as he is, and you can find someone who's a better match for your lifestyle. As a guy, it's hard to read this, because it's a reminder that no matter how great you are as a person, at the end of the day, women only want you for your wallet. I hope one day you find a very rich man and have a happy, fulfilling life with his money. Sorry, my comment is more snaky than it should have been, I apologize. At least you have the self-awareness to admit that security is the thing that matters most to you. I do respect that. Anyway, I think you should break it off with him and be 100% honest as to why. And like other people have said in other comments, don't worry about how it will affect him, that's not your problem. Honestly, the sooner you rip off this band-aid, the better off he'll be. Staying in a relationship because you worry the person will fall apart if you leave them is just about the worst reason ever to stay. Dating someone for 6 months and then realizing you have different goals is fairly common. You dated long enough to realize it's not going to work. He's 24 and has no savings, no ambition, and no plan. You are very different from him, and you know you want to be with someone who shares your desire for a financially secure future. You are absolutely not responsible for his choices, now or in the future. Next story 2. AITA, Dad thinks I invited him to my wedding to offend him in front of everyone. This happened years ago, but I've always wondered if I wasn't wrong here, since it's now affected my own children, and I and my husband have made certain life choices because of this. My biological father came to my wedding, this happened years ago, and got offended I danced with my stepdad during the combined father-daughter/mother-son dance. He also got offended my grandmother was the one to walk me down the aisle and give me away. He claims I did this to embarrass him in front of everyone and has since refused to speak to me and claims my children are not his grandchildren. He and my mother ended things after an affair and getting this woman pregnant when I was 3. He saw me on and off until I was almost 5. It was much less after that, and the last time I saw him I was 7, and the last time I spoke to him I was 8. He married this new woman and she hated me and hated that I existed and existed before her and her children. She hates my family, his parents and siblings, because they chose me and to continue a relationship with me over her wishes. She got a lawyer in hopes that he wouldn't have to give my mother child support and was pissed when she found out he had to add me to his health insurance. He came into my life shortly before I became engaged and was married. We saw each other for the first time at a cousin's wedding, but days before his wife called me and not so nicely demanded I not go to my cousin's wedding because they were going. His oldest son found out and told her and him off, and he demanded that he wanted to know his sister, and so they were at the wedding and I met my siblings for the first time. The younger three didn't even know I existed, just the oldest did. We saw each other sometimes. After that, he and I never forming a full-on relationship since this lady hated me so much. I asked nothing from him, and demanded nothing. When I invited him and his family to my and my husband's wedding, I got no answer. I called and asked if they were coming and he never could say yes or no. I went on and planned the wedding without his response, and I expected him not to come since he never came to any other of my life events, never called at birthdays either or sent cards or letters. He called me hours before the wedding, as I'm having my hair done, to say that yes, in fact they are coming and are on the road. I was surprised but happy. But what happened at the wedding stopped any relationship we were building up to. My stepdad has been my dad since I was 4. That man has done all the things a father is supposed to do and loved me like his own. He wasn't perfect, but no one is. So when I planned on who I would dance with, my decision came naturally. Some have asked, well, why didn't you dance half him and half your real dad? And I just reply that I didn't even know the man would be there until the afternoon of. I don't think I did anything wrong or offended him. My father does AITA. Comment. Diva, my dad did the same, that I didn't list his name for my high school graduation even though he never attended one single event of mine for school prior to then. It could be to avoid the drama from not inviting him. Op's biodad family is still close to Op and biodad never showed up before. It could be either don't invite biodad and get potential drama for years, or invite him and let him not come. The second option would be the one I go with, especially for the sake of the half-siblings. Op would have been cast as the villain if Op didn't invite biodad. See, I'd imagine it as some hybrid of my Super Sweet 16 and Extreme Cheapskates, where non-consumerist kids nominate their rich dads to be judged. Is my dad just a normal dad who wants to do nice things like buy me a car or pay for my college? Or is he a diva who's mad I want to wear the old jeans I got from the thrift store, not the $1,000 designer duds the stylist he hired for me suggested? You decide. I would have not even let the man into the venue. Many weddings/receptions require a head count, or number of seats. He didn't even bother to RSVP until the day of the wedding. I mean, RSVPing is basic manners for a basic guest. Yet, somehow he has less manners and respect for her than any of the other guests that attended. This man doesn't have the right to be offended that he didn't walk you down the aisle. He doesn't have the right to be offended that he didn't do the daughter and father dance, because he is not your dad. And to me it's like your stepdad has been your real dad. Being you your biological father means nothing, and it doesn't make him entitled to your love or care. If he cared about you, he would have made an effort to reach out ages ago, or made more of an effort. You even said, the only reason you saw him again was because you both got invited to a family event. I hate to say it, but if he got upset, I think it's more because his ego got hurt. I doubt it's a heartbreaking issue. You can't break a heart that doesn't exist. My armchair psychologist guesses, it's less about attention and more that he felt guilty, and had to face the painful fact that he was absent for most of Op's life. He knows that had he done right by Op all these years, he probably would have been included. And since that hurts to acknowledge and deal with, he instead lashed out and made it someone else's fault. Because it totally couldn't somehow be his fault, right? Next story 3. AITA for not telling my wife about my time off. At work I do a lot of extra stuff, company party planning, pick up extra shifts, etc., and get extra PTO as one of the compensations. Due to this I end up getting maxed out PTO and use it regularly. Well, I have a major certificate test next week and wanted to get all of my school work done for the next few weeks and spend a large time studying and doing practice exams in preparation for my test. I took the whole week, after Labor Day, off in order to do this. I didn't tell my wife, because I knew she would start asking me to do other stuff, go places, etc. Despite my intention for PTO being academically based. I do have kids, and I know I cannot study for 12 hours a day, so I would break it up every few hours and do some stuff with them. Well, my first day was fine because my wife was working and my kids were out of the house. So I was able to complete almost all of my 2 weeks worth of school work. Day 2 my wife starts doing the "you cannot stop studying to play with your son, he wants to go outside, can you take him, etc." I told her this is why I didn't mention having PTO. Because from your perspective I am still working, yet you aren't going to take it that way. She said I'm an asshole for lying to her. Maybe I am, but I know my wife. She gets on me to do extra stuff while I'm working from home, so if I'm not working but still studying I knew she would push it even more. She even does the whole "you better pass your test" crap, yet seems to get in the way of my studying unless it's late at night when she's asleep. Comment. I think YTA. I'm sorry, but when you're married and have children you always have to tell your partner as a courtesy when you take PTO, especially a whole ass week. You easily could have said, "Hey, I'm taking off work for a week but I won't have time for this," and that you're married. You communicate. Also, you blew off your son to study? When you admit you almost did the entire 2 weeks of work the day prior. Be honest, is this coming at the expense or neglect of your time with your kids, household chores, etc.? Because if yes, your family absolutely deserves to know about the PTO so you all can at least plan ahead. Studying for a test implies bettering his education, which often results in more job opportunities and higher pay. Which is caring for his family, as they would benefit. Your kids should be your priority doesn't mean dropping everything when you're at work to play trains with your two-yo. Or, skipping studying for an important test to do the same. I've got some good studying in, that doesn't mean they're done, or that they couldn't benefit from more passes through the content. The PTO isn't really PTO in this case. It's just dedicated time for studying. The burden cannot fall 100% on his also working wife. Like, when I was a kid and was sick, my dad would pick me up and take me to the office with him, because someone has to take care of the kid. He earned the PTO by working extensive overtime, which means his wife picked up the parenting slack this whole time. He also chose to dedicate the PTO to studying, it wasn't required, and he said he finished 2 weeks in 1 day. So what is he so busy with? And what about his wife's career, her time, her education, all of which he doesn't mention? We know she works, so she is not a Sam. When he's working all this overtime, she's taking the full brunt of both working and being a parent. Of course she wants him to help her. I agree with you, but I also know what it is like to grow up in a family where one parent spent 90% or more of their time awake working, or in school or studying. It isn't easy. The kid didn't sign up for a parent that lives with them, but isn't really a part of their daily life. Being a parent is always the first responsibility. I don't think Op is wrong for wanting time to study, but his wife does have a point about spending time with his child when it is there. He doesn't seem to have a lot of it to spare, so the best investment would be spending some time with his family, especially because he has almost all of his work done. There are always times of sacrifice, but it shouldn't always be his kids that get the short end of the stick.